almost went to grad school for was,
Wow.
and yes, a note. Okay, like that's easy,
Yeah.
fun. I do that on a regular.
Hey, great day, everybody. Welcome to the podcast where we are focused on highlighting mental health therapists for Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we are really excited. We are bringing on another epic therapist. I'm going to have her introduce a little bit about herself. We are going to take you on a journey of getting into the mental health field, going into different work settings, and then also ultimately how we ended up in entrepreneurship and some lessons learned and wins. And so let's go ahead and bring our guest on, Valynn, to the podcast. Welcome.
Hey everyone.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So, first question is one, introduce yourself. Let us know where you're located, license type, and also let's explain these acronyms behind our name because they change from state to state.
Oh, yes, yes. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Valynn Hawkins. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist in California, practicing in Southern California to be exact. Licensed marriage and family therapist just means that I work with not only one individual, but the whole family to try to understand what is really going on as a collective rather than just an individual problem.
Nice, nice. And you're actually our first, at least this round, MFT. And so, like, I wanted to highlight that because when you start going East Coast, it turns into some people are LPCC, but then you have the mental health counselor like MHC, LPC, LPCC, like it's all these different acronyms. So also just for like the rising therapists that are coming into the field, we all may be the same thing in terms of what we went to school for, but the license title may be different state to state. Okay. So let's talk about the beginning journey. And so what made you decide to become a therapist or study mental health, psychology? Give us the nitty gritty in your background.
Whew. Well, I will start by saying it's probably similar to a lot of therapists. You have friends, teachers, families, colleagues telling you that you have a warm heart, a lot to say, and really just helpful guidance. Being an older sibling with 6 siblings, I struggled with figuring out how to be present for them, how to focus on what I needed to do for my life, but also kind of mentor and mold and give advice to my little ones that were coming up behind me. So that was kind of the first start, having my brothers and sisters kind of look up to me and seek my guidance and my growth and my steps and action plans to getting to where I wanted to be. And then it kind of transitioned and kind of blew up for me in college. I went to Cal State Northridge and they had an amazing psychology program that really highlighted what I could do with therapy and psychology, but not only what I could do outside of graduate school after I graduated CSUN, but I was able to get into a mentorship program in a cohort where I was a peer mentor lead working with incoming freshmen. And one of our goals was really just to maintain and retain the students that were there by giving them access to what is available for them to stay here at CSUN, giving them resources, giving them tips and tricks on how to be a good student. Because many of us do not understand what it takes to really be out on your own and be self-sufficient. So that was one of the main things in college that exposed me to, oh, I really like this thing. Oh, people actually seek my guidance and my gifts. And I actually got something to say. So being able to get that feedback at a very early stage transitioned into me wanting to get my degree and go higher education and fully become a California therapist. It took me many years to get to where I am, but being able to really pause and acknowledge that there were very many people looking out for me and telling me that I'm already on the right track.
No, yeah, that's so good. And I want to highlight just the lengthy journey that we take, right? So for those of you who don't know, and it varies state by state, the state also determines how we earn these hours as well with like the different boards. And so in California, I know we can speak to California. So in California, there are technically two boards, but I'm going to add the third one more for psychiatry. So for master's level, which are social workers, LCSW, MFTs, etc., they are ran by the Board of Behavioral Sciences, BBS or whatever. And then for psychology, it's the BOP, Board of Psychology of California. And then, of course, you have the medical board for psychiatry, and then they get their training in psychology. And so we get like no less than 3,000. And truth be told, I'm very sure that we typically earn way more than 3,000 because some of it is earned in school. And then we sit for the licensing exam. So we're kind of like still in training. And so it's a journey, but it's a journey well worth it, as you had mentioned, when you're really doing something that you're passionate about. And that's what I would say is one of the key points, that if you're in early career, you don't want to lose your passion, because that is what's going to keep you going, especially in the beginning, because you don't know where you're going to end up, you know?
Right.
And so post like grad school, where are some of the places that you have worked in terms of like structure? Like, did you work in schools, colleges, clinics and stuff?
Ooh. I want to say I've worked almost everywhere, in almost every setting. I have worked in schools, colleges, nonprofits, up and coming nonprofits. I have also worked in let's go ahead and dial it all the way back, because the only place that I really haven't worked at is inpatient, substance abuse or inpatient, like psychiatric holds.
Okay.
As far as schools and private practices, like group practices as well, I'm currently working at an adult daycare. So that is under the county, but also working with population with adults with disability.
Okay. Well, I mean, it also speaks to like how well versed like the field is. Like, I know when I went to school, and I want you to share this as well, is for students who are listening or early career, and sometimes we have our like mind made up. Like for me, I wanted to work with kids, but I mean, kids is wide range. I mean, these days kids go up to 25, 30. I mean, if we want to count inflation and kids staying home these days, you know, and so there's multiple categories. And one of my professors just said, you don't know where you're going to end up. And we were working with her at a kids camp. And I had liked the littles, like the 4 to 8, 10-year-olds or whatnot. But she had told us when I think I asked her, like, what made you start seeing adults? Because you back to kids. But she kept saying like there was a stint in her life where she went to full-fledged adults in her private practice. And she said, oh, it's because I wasn't able, when I started having my own kids, I wasn't able to take off my mom hat. And she was a older Caucasian woman, very affluent, but she loved to give back to the community, which is one of the things why I loved as a mentor in grad school. But she said, you know, going to certain locations, you see how impoverished like certain communities are. And sometimes, you know, the mindset of community members is like the kids can't expand, you know? And so because of that, her inability to like not be a mom, but be a psychologist at the same time, she's so glad that she had training working with different types of people. Because for those of you who are, again, just not at the end of the career path to graduate, wherever you stop getting supervision at is as much as you can do post licensure, unless you pay for supervision again. So why for you was it important to like work in different settings, or what do you feel like it prepared you for later in your career?
Ooh, I'm going to go ahead and go back to undergrad, Cal State Northridge, because with that being a really high profile university for psychology, I got a lot of exposure with different settings. I was able to be a peer mentor in the classroom and on campus. I was also able to get exposed to statistics and research, which I fell in love with. Then I was able to get exposed to abnormal psychology, and the kicker, what I really loved and almost went to grad school for, was applied behavior analysis. I love being able to literally dissect something so small like a behavior and tweak it and apply it back to the client and see a whole different outcome. I love being able to see something so small just really transform in a client's life and in the world. Then when I got into kind of understanding what ABA was really meaning and how specific it was, I got nervous. And it made me think, oh, whoa, hold on. I don't want to pigeonhole myself into something so specific. I want to branch out and kind of be able to apply all the things that I've learned in undergrad and grad school in my professional world when I'm done with school. So being able to choose becoming a licensed marriage and family therapist gave me the tools and really the skills to be in a nonprofit and develop programs for at-risk youth. It allowed me to go into the community and become an advocate and outreach ambassador to help students and their parents find resources for mental health at low cost. It also helped me just gain better understanding and really increase my public speaking skills when I was in the clinics and the communities, being able to run groups with littles, with adults, with people who were court ordered, just being able to have little doses of different settings in college and through grad school allowed me more confidence to say that I can do this therapy thing in any space at any time, anywhere.
Yeah, that's so good. And I just wanted to spend time on that because I know on typically these podcasts, we hyper focus on like entrepreneurship, but there are probably a larger group of psychology students who are looking for information like this. And these are the questions that I get all the time on like this one video that says how to become a clinical psychologist. And we have all types of high school, college students on there just saying like, how do I start with any type of master's or doctorate degree? And then they start asking me all these questions. And I just love when we can infuse them when I have the therapists on here that represent the different classifications of like what therapists could look like in the field. So pretty much work with everybody under the sun outside of like this one subset group of people. So then moving throughout your career, what made you say to yourself like, okay, I actually want to try entrepreneurship? Or was that always a thing that you knew you wanted to do?
Yes, it was a kind of gnawing voice in the back of my mind saying, you don't want to diagnose someone. That was one of the big things as I got into grad school and into the different settings that I was started getting my hours. I realized the difference between working with insurance-based clients and working with clients who really just need additional support going through life transitions. And I fell in love with more of working with clients who just really were going through life transitions, who needed a little boost of encouragement, who needed kind of just a helpful reminder that that they had what it takes, that they were resourceful, and that they just needed to kind of slow down to kind of gather themselves, audit what they like and they don't like in their life, and then move forward. When it comes to some of the diagnosing aspect of it, I started noticing that you kind of tend to label some of the clients and they run with that. They either run with that or they tend to kind of reject it or they don't believe it. So being able to kind of pause and just acknowledge that I could be able to look at both of these areas and both of these ways of doing therapy and focus more on just life transitions. What do you have right now that's going to help you move forward, and what's keeping you from moving forward, rather than having a diagnosis and then labeling you as such.
Okay. So was private practice your first experience in entrepreneurship?
Actually, no. My first
you worked in other practices or something.
I worked in a group practice with an amazing supervisor who actually introduced me to you, Dr. TK, in March 2021. And
Wow.
yes, so I have been following you for quite some time.
Can we hold on pause? Like not pausing the podcast. This is a real win, and none of this out, okay? But
Mhm.
I just want to pause there just to show people from any level how some things may take time. Sometimes, as we mentioned, like students may start following, and we say this in our community a lot. You never know who's watching, and that's what I want to highlight because social media will bamboozle you. You know, we talk about it in our programs, or people will submit questions like, "Oh my gosh, can you do something on social media? I only got like 100 views," and I'm like, "Well, when was the last time you sat in a room with 100 people?" Because you know it's a different perspective, but not everybody engages in your stuff while they're interested in your stuff as well, you know? And so I just wanted to highlight that because we've heard that a few times. And I've even got mentors where I watched them for 2 to 3 years before I even pulled the trigger. Because at that time, I may not have been ready or it may not have been the right program for me at that time. But go ahead.
Yes, I had to put that in there because that's really the start of me understanding what was possible and dreaming bigger as a therapist. Getting out of grad school in 2020 of June, I didn't really know exactly where I wanted to go. I had all this experience of working in labs, working on campuses, working with college students, working with littles, and I kind of got overwhelmed and unmotivated because I just wanted to work with teenagers. However, I didn't want to go into the schools and to be and kind of be a employee of the school. I wanted to see how I can get some sort of kind of into the district somehow. Yeah. So after doing that and kind of making that decision, I switched over to working with boys on probation. That was kind of the first start of working in the community and working with teens who were struggling and at-risk youth. Then that transitioned me into working for a couple more group homes and nonprofits. Still as a peer mentor, still as a social worker, more advocacy and case management. As I transitioned out of nonprofits and working with at-risk youth, I then started going into the group practices. Once I got into group practices, I really enjoyed how easy, I would say easy, because at that time I was like, oh, I just got to do an intake. Oh, I just got to do a note. Okay, like that's easy, fun. Yeah. I do that on a regular. I was also DMH trained, Department of Mental Health trained. So when I think of that, I think that they gave us 8 hours to do 45-page document, and I was able to get it done in half that time. So in my mind, I'm thinking I got what it takes to go ahead and open up a private practice, but I didn't want to do a storefront or a brick and mortar. I wanted to start with doing online because in 2021, that is kind of when I started noticing the transition of most therapists choosing to work from home or working from a shared space rather than going into an office that they own physically. And with the help of my supervisor and your awesome videos, Dr. TK, I was able to start my own private practice online with private pay clients only.
Wow. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is what they want to hear. Like, go ahead and break that down. Who do you serve? Who have you served in private practice? And what also was that like to make the decision that this was your plan? Because sometimes we can get like sidetracked and talk ourselves out of the patience that it might take to end up calling into those private pay clients.
Absolutely. With my supervisor being truly on me, I met with her weekly, and she just really kind of told me to get out of my own way. And what was the worst that can happen? You don't know what you don't know, so go out there and see if what you have to offer is something that they're willing to opt into. And I want to say in that first month, I was able to get 3 clients private pay on a reoccurring basis. And I will say since 2021 March, starting my private practice, I have been able to maintain private pay clients only up until April of this year.
That's awesome. That is so inspirational to, I know even a lot of individuals in our community, because as you probably have seen, like in our Facebook group or even like the past coaching calls, is a large portion of them. And I do want to add, because they are clinicians of color. And I do think all of this is, correlated. Clinicians of color have a desire to maybe serve clientele of color. And a high percentage of the clients that and I keep saying choose, because we choose to serve a certain group, because we choose to serve a certain group, those individuals may primarily use their insurance, and or they may not have the funds to pay for private pay out of pocket to be able to come on a consistent basis where we would clinically recommend, whether it be like once a week or every other week. So I love that you're sharing this, because it shows that things are possible. But I do want to ask, in terms of like private pay and private practice, somebody may be hearing this and say, okay, well, if you got private pay, then why did you decide to get help? Because this is where we see that crossing bridge. You kind of mentioned it, but people who are not in our community won't understand it. When you were highlighting, like, it looked easy, I had to do an intake and paperwork, and they don't know what that means when we're talking about private practice business.
Oh yeah, that was such a hurdle. I still to this day am going backwards to like move forward. I will say, it was a struggle when I figured out that it took more than just doing an intake, doing a treatment plan, and seeing the client. I got overwhelmed. And Dr. TK, it took me more time, an additional day or two, to reach back out to those private pay clients to do the consultation, because I was so overwhelmed and overworked that I couldn't find the time with my full-time job, working in the business, trying to figure out how to get more clients, to do this paperwork, create structure for myself. I'm really big on details, so sometimes I can kind of tweak something over and over again. Next thing I know, it's an hour has passed. So being able to tell myself, how much time am I really wasting on doing stuff that I have no idea if it's working or not? That's what really stopped me. I didn't have much time. I felt overworked, overwhelmed, and I needed a break. I needed someone who had the answers and that was organized, that was structured, that could give me some very bite-sized pieces to apply into my practice, so I can get some of my time back. So I can feel a little bit more of, oh, I got this license, like that's dope. I shouldn't be working 80 plus hours a week.
Yes.
So being able to give myself grace and space to make the mistake and then also ask for help is really what got me to reaching out to you actively. But I will say, I didn't give myself full permission to opt into like knowing my worth and knowing what I was really going to get out of this until the end of last year.
It's crazy because like my team member is watching this with us, and me, her, and my husband, when we finally saw your name come in on the back end, we were like, isn't she already part of our program? Like, we thought you were already in a program because we would see your name so frequently. I think we even asked, like, did you double enroll or something? Like,
yes.
But it goes to speak like it's okay for you to see something, or it's going to happen, I'll say, in a mindset where we want to expand. We're going to see something like reading a book over and over again. And what do we say? Every time we open up the book, every time we watch the Netflix show, we catch something different every single time. But I just want to pull out some of the key things that you said for those who are listening pertaining to even like the private pay or the desirability to decrease hours. Is first things first, my people, don't be so much in a hurry to quit your job. Do not be in a hurry to quit your job. because there's going to be two different listeners for that part that you mentioned. There's going to be the person that has the 9 to 5 that says, oh my God, there's hope. That if I have a 9 to 5 and a 5 to 9, because that's technically what you're going to have, you can take your time because you have this other thing that gives you money. You know what I'm saying? But we have the other side of people who already started a private practice, are low key in a rat race against themselves, because we've heard our clients just outright tell us this. And sometimes they want to cross over and get off the insurance panels and only take private pay, but maybe because they didn't have a good foundation of, honestly, finances before they left their job. It's just like they just swap spaces. And, you got to pay your rent, you got to pay your mortgage, you got to pay for your kids to go to school. And so I just want therapists to hear it is okay, as long as it's not messing up your health, because I understand that firsthand. But if you can stay at your job and just have a different mindset, that's what I did when I was working for the county. Every time I went into a meeting, I said, what can I learn about how they're running the meeting? Instead of me saying, why do I got to come to another damn meeting? Because that's what I low-key would tell myself when I was seeing on the calendar. But in order to force myself to go, to not be insubordinate, I would just look at, okay, what is the agenda? What are the team members complaining about? Because I saw myself even that day having a group practice one day, and I did, but I was like, what makes people excited to come to work and what makes people want to quit? Because I want to be on the part that excites people to come to work, so it's something you can learn from the place that you work, even if you despise where you work. I'm just going to say that to my people. So what are where's your private practice at now? And then what are some other goals that you have for your mental health business in the next, let's just say, year or two?
Oh, yes. Currently, right now, my private practice is still all online. I work with teens and professional women struggling with being stuck in their thoughts and in their actions, who want to find practical tools to get more of the life that they want. So right now, I have a caseload of about 10. I'm looking to increase it to about 15. That is like my happy sweet spot, 15 to 17 clients. In my mind, that is kind of my path, my plan. I will say that I'm a little type A, maybe a lot of type A. I'm trying to give myself permission to accept that identity in myself right now, because I do plan things out to the T. Sometimes so much so where I don't give myself enough grace and space to kind of be fluid in life. But I do have a goal, I do have plans, and I'm normally knowing exactly where I want to go every day. So with my goals and my plans, I'm trying my best to transition into increasing that caseload. Right now I got 10, so I want to get to about 12 or 15. But I want to move away from one-to-one sessions and going into more of group sessions, more of workshops, more of facilitating, training teens in high schools about life skills, the real practical ones, not the ones that, maybe back in the day, we got that first little semester on. Yeah. All I can recall is the reproductive system. Anything else that was life skills definitely was out of my mind when I graduated 12th grade. So in my mind, I'm thinking a lot of our teens and our professional women struggle with acknowledging their worth, acknowledging the small wins, acknowledging the things that they have had to do to get the life that they have right now, because not all of it is bad. Not all of it is something that they need to change or fix. There are things right now that people are doing well and we want to keep. And for me, I now know, I can say, and I'm giving myself permission to do this right now, I can say that I'm really great at helping clients understand how resourceful they are individually. That there is nothing at first that they have to get outside of themselves to get the life that they want. It's just a matter of them being able to slow down, see what they're already doing well in, maybe in other areas of their life, and apply that thing in the area that they want to enhance. Yeah. So I'm choosing to do that with some of my next steps for the next year or two. I want to get into more high schools, more colleges, just to talk about mental health, talking about how important it is to praise yourself when you do things right. I don't believe that we give ourselves enough grace and space to make mistakes as adults. And I would say maybe in a year, maybe 2, I would love, love, love to create my own life skills academy or life skills. What is that thing that's in high school that people have to use? Electives. There we go. Those electives. Creating a program or curriculum for high school students, elective courses that really teaches them real life application on how to be an adult in here. Very basic steps, life skills such as hygiene, how to budget, how to praise yourself, how to make healthy friends, how to maintain friends. Because after high school, you have to put an effort to really foster the relationships. And I think that is where I'm trying to go little by little, giving myself grace and space. But that is truly where I see myself the next 2, 3, like maybe 1 year.
Yeah, I'm like your timeline. But I'm like, I'm going back to, like you said, going to give yourself grace, personality type A, loving to plan things out. But I mean, that sounds like a phenomenal plan, because some people can't even tell us that. They'll just say, I want to have groups. And I'm like, what kind of group? What teens? What kind of teens? And so the fact that you even have it laid out just shows probably how fast you're going to see results, because you know, and you're crystal clear about where is it that you want to go, who do you want to work with, what type of services you want to do. And I also see the trend of when we've been talking to therapists specifically in 2025, we've seen a lot of y'all do like a full circle, because when you initially started answering the question about where you want to be in the next year, and you mentioned groups and workshops, I was like, oh, that's how she started. You know, that's where my brain went, is like picturing you, because I've been at Cal State Northridge, is like picturing you in the classroom at Cal State Northridge, or maybe even what is it, the dormitory, like going to shared dorm space and go up there and have an event. I mean, they got the suites up there just like Cal State Dominguez. Because I would go up there for parties, but that's not the point today.
Great school.
Yeah.
All around.
Cal State Northridge, that's why I couldn't go there, because it was known as the party school. They were like, absolutely not. I'm like, come on. but no, I love it. And what you hit on can definitely connect with, I'm going to say, all 3 levels of providers. And so for those of you who listen to the whole thing, if you're already an entrepreneur, I'm sure you could agree what she shared has talked to the people who are in school to talk about like how well versed you could be while you are about to before you graduate. Then of course we go into early career phase, where you made sure to get pretty much a full breadth of experience, and you continue to do so. And then with entrepreneurship, being okay with being exposed to stuff over and over again. And I'm gonna say believing in yourself to be okay with the timeline that has been created for you, and the one you have in your mind too, to make the decision of when it's a good enough time for you to get help. Because that's one thing I do want to highlight, whether you're in school, studying for the exam, or going into entrepreneurship, you are, or we can become our biggest obstacle to our success. And sometimes we may be ready for something, but we talk ourselves out of it. Until we hit what you had mentioned briefly, is the time capacity issue. And that takes a certain mindset to even say, I'm no longer willing to give up my time. So I'm going to use investing in myself with time and finances, but I got to show up and do the work. I'm going to invest myself to shortcut the process. And that's what a lot of people, I think, don't sit down and really think about, is what does an investment in your business really do for you, versus you just looking at money going out of your account. Because you're looking at it as, not you, but some people look at it as an expense. And mentorship, coaching, going to events, it don't even have to be an event as a therapist. It could just be a networking event with women. You know what I'm saying? It could be a spiritual event. It could be, if you're married, a couples event. Whatever you need to do to pour into all different parts of yourself to make yourself feel whole and your cup overflow, you need to be doing that every single year, not just in one phase of what we do in our business, you know? So one, where can people find you? And we'll make sure to link it up. And then I want to ask you a super juicy question at the end. And so where can people find you at to connect with you and see what you got going on?
Right now, you can find me on Instagram. That is Instagram and Facebook. Valynn A. Kendrick. That is my maiden name. And then you will also be able to find me on a website coming soon. So please go ahead and check out my Facebook and my Instagram. I will be launching, I'm gonna go ahead and just use that word, throughout this, time together, Dr. TK, I have been giving myself permission to just say the thing that I've been wanting to do. So I will launch that website by the end of this month, and you guys can definitely check me out there.
Yes, I love it. And so one question that we ask at the end of these interviews that brings it on home, if you can go back to the very first month that you decided, you know what, I think I want to do this thing called private practice, entrepreneurship, what would you tell her for her to get out of her own way and go ahead and, start sprinting? Because it's going to be a marathon, but there will be certain sprints that she has to do. What are some tips or advice or suggestions that you would share with her?
Okay. So I'm talking to, as of right now, I'm Valynn 5.0. Okay. I go with the years. That Valynn, I think she wasn't even a point anything. So if I was talking to that Valynn, I would tell her to slow down. You have time. You have a great plan. You have to notice what you're doing well already. Highlight that for yourself. Give yourself praise. Give yourself reminders that you are not moving slow. You are not stuck. Because I don't think that I really gave myself back in the day time and effort to just understand what it means to really talk to myself, really audit myself, really sit down and look at my life and say, what do I like and what I don't like? Am I making choices and decisions that are moving me closer to what I want my life to look like? Or am I making choices or decisions that's moving me away from it? So that Valynn point nothing, I would tell you to slow down and really figure out what it means to invest in getting to know who Valynn really is and what Valynn really wants. Because once you figure that out, time is not going to be an issue with you. What's really going to be an issue is how are you going to be able to get this done in your lifetime? Because you have so many ideas and so many plans and goals that you have to give yourself grace to pause, pay attention to what you're doing well, to use that to propel you to keep moving forward.
I love it. I love it. So this wraps up an awesome podcast episode. There's one thing I'm gonna go ahead and insert though, because you kept saying you're gonna give yourself grace. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make this a live coaching call. And you weren't at point nothing. The fact that you even went to school, you went to grad school, you worked at all these places, you changing people's whole lives. You already know how to talk in a community. At least give yourself the 1.0, okay? At least we in the first year of entrepreneurship. But just wanted to say that because I want people who are tuning in, no matter what stage you are in, there was always a previous stage. And the fact that you went past that stage, you want to give yourself credit because you also mentioned something really important as well. Celebrate the wins during the time where you're doing all this self-reflection. And it is very imperative that you celebrate yourself for every single step. As we say in our community, whether it's tangible or intangible, you did something great. You either won or you learned something from whatever just happened. And so with that said, everybody, we are going to wrap up this episode. If you are tapping in on the YouTubes, then go ahead and leave her your biggest takeaway. Go ahead and connect with her on Instagram. We're going to link up her information below and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I will see y'all on the next podcast episode. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.